I felt okay about this game. Now, you know I'm a Saints fan. You know that we really gave the Saints a lot of trouble when they lost to the Raiders. This game actually made me feel kind of okay. This game made me really see what the Saints are. And we've talked about it before, or we talked about it last week, where I said, look, we're going to know what the Saints are come Sunday night. And this was a really nice, gifted package of what the Saints really are. Here's what they really are. They're probably going to win the NFC South, and they're probably going to get bounced in the first round. And that's it. That's probably just what the Saints are. Before the season, it was, Super Bowl team, this, and this. And we know they're not. You can't watch Seattle. You can't watch the Chiefs. You can't watch any of those teams and be like, yeah, the Saints could compete. Oh, yeah, the Saints are definitely on par with the Chiefs. Oh, yeah, I could definitely see the Saints going and beating Seattle. No. Now, the NFC South, look around. Panthers, Falcons, Bucks. We already beat the Bucks. I think we're the best of that lot. Now, let's actually talk about why the Saints lost this game. It wasn't because of Drew Brees. I'll tell you that. It wasn't because of Drew Brees. It was because of two things. Sean Payton and this suck boy defense. Let's start with Sean Payton. This is something that I have had a problem with Sean Payton for the last however many years. I honestly think sometimes Sean Payton is coaching a game and calling a game as if there are 5 quarters. And he just says, let's just get Taysom involved. Let's just get Latavius involved. Let's just get Alvin involved. And he just randomly throws these pieces in there instead of being like, oh, shit, I only have 10 minutes left. Or, oh, shit, I only have half a quarter left. Maybe I don't need to worry about Taysom. Maybe I just need to worry about doing what I've been doing. And then randomly, and it always happens on like 4th and 1, 3rd and 3, 2nd and 1, where it's like, all right, Sean, look, you are driving down the field. You are gashing this defense. Just keep doing the same thing. And then you see him on like 2nd and 1 call like a double reverse pass or something that gets intercepted. And it's like, dude, why did you feel like you just had to get that in? Like, did you feel like you had to make that happen? You couldn't just not? And that, I mean, here's the hallmark of a bad coach. Alvin Kamara averaged 9.7 yards a rush. And he got 6 carries. I don't get it. Now, if you didn't watch the game, what I'm referencing the Taysom Hill fumble. And I know last week we were talking about why did Taysom only get 2 carries. So it's going to sound like I'm kind of a flippy flopper. But here's the deal. Taysom Hill and players like Taysom Hill, they should be a change of pace back. If something's not working, put in Taysom. If you need a spark, put in Taysom. If you want to exploit a mismatch, put in Taysom. If you want to, throw a wrinkle in there because they're keying in on something or they're stopping something, put in Taysom. You don't put in Taysom when you make your team rallies and your team gets to a winning position and your best player is going bananas. You don't do that. Oh, and your backup running back is having an incredible game too. You don't all of a sudden decide, now it's time for our designated Taysom play. It's like, hey, dude, just win the game. Just win the game. Why are we worried about getting a Taysom run in? Run Kamara. Run Murray. Throw it to Kamara. We have been waiting for 2.5 games for Brees to figure it out. Brees started off really slow. He had 12 yards through the first 2 quarters. He started off really slow. Brees started to figure it out. And he started to kind of push the ball. And he kind of started to, I had a tweet where I was talking about how Brees looks awful, and he did. At the beginning of the game, Brees was terrified to go deep. And I don't even mean deep. I mean like 25 yards down the field. He was openly missing Sanders and Traquan, and not that he missed them accurately. He missed like throwing to them. He would look, and then he would choose not to throw to them. And what that led to was a lot, and if you go back and watch the tape, you'll see this a lot, where Brees looked deep, kind of cocked back like he was about to let it go, hesitated, checked down, and then was getting hit or was getting pressured or he took too long in the pocket. That happened a lot. And that's because I think Brees' mind is still going through the whole check your progression, look deep, look at this. And then whatever is in him right now is saying, don't. Look somewhere else. And he seemed to be hesitating a lot. And I didn't like that. And that's when I tweeted about how Brees was looking terrible in the first half. What happened in the second half was Brees really kind of got a rhythm. And it wasn't like he was lighting that ass up. It was more to he was making much better 6 to 10 yard passes, 10 to 15 yard passes. And he started to push the ball towards the marker. He started to throw in the middle of the field. He started to have a little zip on his passes. And I'll say this, for as bad as the first half was, Brees, I think, played a pretty good game. I don't think anybody can look at Drew Brees' whole body of work in that game and say that he's the reason we lost, or he was bad, or put in Jameis. I don't think Jameis Winston beats the Packers. I don't think Jameis Winston does what Drew Brees did. I mean, 29 for 36, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Pretty damn good. 88 QBR, 127 rating. Brees was good. Brees is not MVP Drew Brees. Drew Brees is not that player anymore. That's obvious. Okay, and I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, Brees is going to win these 55 to 54 shootouts every week like he used to. But he's obviously capable of playing. And this was a conversation that the Saints fan base has had. Is Brees washed up? Is he medically hurt? Can he throw? And I think now we have the answer that he can throw. It's just the point of getting the ball to the receivers. And I think Brees, he's still kind of getting loose. I think as the season progresses, we'll see him slowly inch his way towards getting more receivers involved, slowly doing all that stuff. I mean, Brees was always the guy who would spread the ball around. And all of a sudden now it's like he was struggling to spread the ball around. And even in this game, so he targeted Kamara 14 times. He still targeted Sanders 5 times, Traquan 6 times, Jared Cook 3 times. So he's still looking around a little bit. So that's all good. I have nothing really bad to say about Drew Brees. Going to chat. To me, he is a better version of Alex Smith now. Man, I don't know. At the end there, Alex Smith was pretty sweet because Alex Smith could run. But he's more in that world where he ain't, he's not Drew Brees. He's not the guy that he was 2 years ago. But he's not dead arm, washed up, retire now. So that's good. And that's a good takeaway for the Saints. If you're the Saints, that's a huge takeaway. Right? Now, Kamara, when he signed his contract, what'd I say? I said that's best running back in the NFL money. So he's got to do that. Well, he did it. That's what we need. We don't need this every week. I mean, this is almost 200 total yards, 2 touchdowns, 15 catches. But we need a version of this Alvin Kamara every week. That's the Saints now. The Saints are Kamara's team. The Saints are a Kamara team when you pay him that kind of money. Now, again, this is without Michael Thomas. That can't be understated. The best receiver in the NFL is not on the field. So the fact that the Saints were in the game, the fact that they played this well, the fact that Brees had a good game, the fact that Kamara was able to do all this without the defense having to worry about Michael Thomas, those are all positives. Those are all positives. And there's no way that after a couple weeks, Saints fans were still having the conversation of, this isn't good enough because we're a Super Bowl team. It's obvious that we are not a Super Bowl team. The only way that we're a Super Bowl team is if the entire defense all of a sudden completely changes. In 2018, we were probably the best defense in the NFL. There really has been no change for our defense. We lost A.J. Klein. We lost Von Bell, Eli Apple. But besides that, it's pretty much the same team. And this defense, these bunch of losers, this defense all of a sudden is maybe the worst defense in the NFL. We are giving up right now 31 points per game. And I've got people bitching about how Jameis Winston needs to start. Unless Jameis Winston can play outside linebacker, Jameis Winston is not going to do what we need him to do. You cannot give up 31 points per game with a aging quarterback and expect to win or expect to compete. I'm not sure what happened to the defense. I'm not sure when they became this and just can't stop anybody. I saw a tweet. Let me see if I can pull it up. But I saw a tweet. It was like the last 17 drives or something. It was like the last 17 drives of the against the Saints. And it was something like 8 touchdowns, 5 field goals, 1 punt, stuff like that. And okay, here it is. Here's the Saints' opponent's last 17 drives. 8 touchdowns, 5 field goals, 1 turnover on down, 1 end of half, 1 fumble, and 1 punt. You don't force 1 punt out of 17 drives and win games. This defense was a defense of young, brash players who ball hawking, getting turnovers, scoring touchdowns, getting after the quarterback. And now it's just a bunch of people who get penalties, over 100 yards of penalties, I think in all 3 games, certainly in 2 of the 3. And bottom line is they're losing these games. I'm putting a lot of this on Sean Payton for the Taysom Hill stuff and for just the overall game plan in Las Vegas and all that stuff. But as bad as Sean Payton's been and as up and down as Drew Brees has been, you can't ignore the fact that we're giving up 30-plus points a game and we're giving them 100 yards of free offense. That cannot be understated. You are not a competitive team. You are not a good team unless you have an elite level offense. You know, like if the Seahawks had a mediocre to bad defense, I think it'd be okay. We aren't that team anymore. And we weren't that team in 2018. We weren't that team last year where, yeah, Brees will just go out there and we'll just score 60 points a game and we'll just win. I mean, you're talking about that. That was like a 2009. You know, that was the Saints haven't been that team in a long time. So the focus for the first couple of weeks, the spotlight has been on Drew Brees. I need more people talking about this defense. I need more people talking about what this defense is. If they're this bad, if they're this leaky, I mean, we might not even win the division. And we're in a bad division. So even though it sounds negative, I think that the Packers game, for me, I slept pretty easy. Like for me, I mean, I slept bad. I mean, I was upset because of Sean Payton and the Taysom Hill thing because of how good we were turning the corner and how we could have easily won the game at home. That's another thing, too. And I don't want to make this an all Saints podcast here, but for as good of a coach as Sean Payton is, allegedly, he sure does drop a lot of games at home. And he sure does drop a lot of games where they're tied at halftime or they're within 1 score at halftime or the game's close. It seems like, and maybe that's his aggressive, like this like swashbuckler attitude where he has a lot of coin toss type plays where he's just, you know, super high risk, super high reward, and they don't work out. But it seems like, I mean, just like with the Rams, when the Rams beat us, in the Dome, I think it was tied at halftime. Or we might have even been winning. We might have even been winning at halftime at home. I think we were winning by a lot at halftime because I think it's a bit foggy because of Crown Royal, but I'm pretty sure when I went to the halftime, I thought the game was over. So for the Saints to drop games like this at home, and I know that we don't have fans in the stands, but that to me says a lot about Sean Payton. You don't see Bill Belichick do that a lot, you know? Just like with Dan Quinn and the Falcons, there's something to be said about why a team drops games when they have big leads. And to me, that's a lot to do with coaching. And yeah, luck gets involved and turnovers and all that stuff, but if you can't secure a lead, if you can't win games you're supposed to win, to me, that's the sign that your coach is not that great. So I've got a lot of issues with Sean Payton right now and a lot of issues with the defense. But we'll move on from the Saints-Packers. We didn't really talk about the Packers too much, but we talked about them in the power rankings. I think the Packers are really good. I think Aaron Rodgers is really good. If I was the Packers, I would say, look, we're going to trade Jordan Love straight up for Julio Jones or someone like that. and we're going to go all in here. Rodgers is playing out of his mind. Aaron Jones is good. It looks like, even though Lazard and Scantling are undrafted or late round picks or whatever, they're playing really well. So I think the Packers are a good team. I think another team that's kind of underrated, like last year, people said they weren't really a 13-win team. I don't think they're a 13-win team, but I think with the way Rodgers is playing, they're in every game. They're still a mighty ways away from the Kansas City Chiefs of the world, but they're still really good.